name is Heather, CEO of Refi, and today I have with me Jeffrey. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Jeffrey Ciccone, and I am a master level trainer, nutritionist, corrective exercise specialist, and pastor. And I have a company called Fitness Revelation, where I coach and help people get in the best shape of their life.
So you're spiritual and physical health.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it
I
is
don't,
important.
yeah, I don't think you can separate the two, actually. I don't think you can separate, everybody says mind, body, spirit, but in reality, you can't separate any of that. You can't separate the spiritual side from the physical side. You can't separate the mental side from the physical side, or the mental side from the spiritual side. So for me, it's a complete package. So I coach from that perspective. I have a book coming out in the next month or so. And in one of the chapters, and I know it's a little bit aggressive, but I say, nobody puts on a 100-pound fat suit by accident. There's some wound that happened because nobody's comfortable being out of shape. Nobody's comfortable being overweight. Nobody feels good in that way. So I always, when I start coaching people, I start trying to get underneath and it takes a little time because it's a wound. So it's a tender area. And that's where my pastoral background comes in. So I'm able to walk with them and help them untangle whatever that wound is. And it's amazing, Heather, when that wound gets untangled, they start dropping weight.
Yeah.
I frame it this way. Your body's telling a story. Let's untangle that story. Let God tell a new story. The food itself in this country is just horrendous. I mean, we're the only country that's ever set about a not a mandatory, but a suggested way to eat. The food pyramid, right?
Yeah.
And we all know that it's crazy. Because if you top load everything with grains and carbohydrates, you create what? You create obesity, you create diabetes, you create all these lifestyle diseases. I mean, when you look at the proliferation of lifestyle disease, heart disease, cancer, and now they're calling dementia type 3 diabetes. We thought the brain functioned best on sugar or glucose, and actually it's destructive to the brain. And so that's where the proliferation of dementia has come in. And what they're finding is that, of course, the brain runs on ketones. We're seeing, if you look at when the food pyramid began to come in 2030, the 90s, maybe, basically, the proliferation of lifestyle disease has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
And all we do is treat symptoms. For so many people, processed food is just killing them, and they don't know how to stop. It creates an addictive pattern in their body. And when you really start understanding metabolic breakdown or metabolic syndrome, but when your metabolism begins to break down and what causes insulin resistance, I mean, people are stuck hardcore. It's not just eat less and you'll get thin anymore.
No.
Because they're on a plethora of medications that are also affecting that. So yeah, I think you have to come at things from all aspects: physical, mental, and definitely spiritual, because it's always rooted in something that's happened. People are looking for meaning. They want to do something meaningful. They want to do something not just to make money, because I see it all the time. Most of my clients tend to be 45 to 55-year-old men, some women, some couples. And one of the messages I give to them all the time is, you're working your brains out to make all this money. Your family is somewhat suffering. And then what are you going to do? You're not going to take care of your health. And we know that the average person gains about 4 pounds per year. The person that doesn't exercise and doesn't watch what they eat gains about 4 pounds per year. Extrapolate that over 20 years, right? A career. And what are you going to do? Spend all your money on your sickness. We've all seen the pictures of the beaches in the 70s. And let's face it.
Quite a change.
Yeah, and there wasn't a lot of people exercising. So it had to do with the food, had to do with how we were eating. I was an anomaly that I lifted weights in high school in the 70s. I was an anomaly that I wanted to be a bodybuilder in the 80s. It was just all starting. But you didn't see a bunch of obese people walking around. And generally, when you saw somebody that was obese, like a woman or even a man, there's a condition where they produce all this extra fat around them. And it's not necessarily due to eating too much. You just saw very few people that were seriously obese when I was growing up. And now you see very few people that are fit. I've been an in-person trainer for years and years and years, and I transitioned to online. And I did client mapping around what holds people. I wanted to find the pain points, right? And I kind of narrowed it down to this. I tell my guys, you need to be in the gym to burn off the masculine energy you have, because you've been told that you're just supposed to be a nice guy. You can't get upset at work. You can't get upset at home. You can't be frustrated at church. You're supposed to just be this nice guy. Well, men are made to be warriors.
Right.
And we've turned them into nice from the boys. When I was in school, stay in your seat. Don't get, I have ADD. So I was busy and I'm pretty smart. So I was bored.
Yeah.
And what do they want you to do? Just be quiet, stay in your seat. Don't do anything wrong. Well, men have to be in the gym to burn off that masculine energy. So they're not knuckleheads to their employees, to the people they manage, to their wife, to their kids. And you see it all the time. Women, I tell my gals, you need to be in the gym because you think that if you take any time for yourself, somehow you're taking away from your family, your job, all your responsibilities. But if you don't take this time, you're not going to be good over here. And for me, it comes down as a person of faith, love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, if you're not loving yourself, how are you going to love your kids? How are you going to love your husband? And let's face it, we know that most couples come together, they start putting on weight, pretty soon it's covering up. And what happens? The intimacy goes away, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't feel good about themselves. And then it's just a downhill slope. But I think what happens is as people begin to get so focused on kids, family, work, careers, all this stuff, they begin to lose sight of what's valuable.
Yeah.
And they stop first with themselves. They don't take care of themselves. And then pretty soon there's this distance that starts happening. And then, it goes downhill from there.
We actually want to go into when you talked about a couple years back. Tell us about that, the healthcare, if you don't mind.
I had gone through a very difficult relationship, and it was very, very stressful. Stressful, like you talk about cortisol, like redlined. I was also training, and I'd come through some different repairs in my body, and I'd been competing again. So if you saw me, I was 198 pounds, 5'8". I was 198 pounds at 6.5% body fat year round. Like veiny, what they would call jacked. And that's not bad for, at the time, a 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
And
not at all.
well, because I've just figured some things out. I figured out my nutrition. I figured out my training. I figured out all these things. And I'm, kind of good at what I do, right? So if I'm not my best advertisement, then I just, what am I doing? But I had COVID like 4 times. And my doctor, who's now my training partner, he's a longevity functional medicine doctor. He's also a regular MD. So he's not just some guy out here way in left field. He has the best of both worlds. He's amazing. And he said, you've had COVID 4 times, Jeffrey. We need to take a look. And so he did this regular blood work that a normal doctor would do. And I looked like Superman. What I've learned now is that when you get regular blood work and there's something off on that, you're in a whole lot more trouble than that shows. Because that's just the surface. It's the tip of the iceberg. So he does this blood work through a company called Genova Diagnostics. And it's an 8-page cellular level. What's really going on in your body? Now, he treats long haul COVID, vaccine injury, autoimmune disease, cancers. He's treating all these things with both regular medicine and alternative medicine. He has the report on his desk and he says, Jeffrey, this is the worst report for this type of blood work I've ever seen. I looked at him, I started laughing. If you're saying it's the worst you've ever seen, and I know the kind of people you treat, I go, how can I train the way I'm training? He goes, I don't know how you're getting out of bed. So we started untangling that. He started treating me for some stuff. My gut was shut down. Stress. This is why I talk to people about you have to get the stress out of your life. Because your body doesn't know the difference between being chased by a lion and your boss being irritated with you at work. It doesn't. It's the same cortisol response. And so he started treating me, and I truly believe that if he hadn't started treating me, I would have died. But what happened was about 4, 5, 6 months into the treatment, I just got back pain one Sunday. It got really bad, went to the chiropractor, felt a little bit better, got really bad a day later, she sent me to a different chiropractor who does like tough case. She couldn't figure out what's going on. I was in crazy pain. Now, this pain was something different. Like, I'm a pretty tough guy, and it was way beyond anything I'd ever experienced. Goes on and on and on through that week. Finally, the chiropractor adjusts me on a Saturday morning, finally got me to adjust, and I'm trying to drive home and my legs don't work. Like, I'm in so much pain and my legs are going numb and they don't work. I passed out at home for 8 hours. That Monday spiked the fever. They took me to the hospital. Well, I was in deep sepsis. They called my kid, said he's not going to make it through the day. What happened was my immune system had gotten broken down, and somehow staph had gotten into my bones, my discs, and I had an abscess on the nerves to my legs. And they pretty much put me in the hospital and pretty much said, he's probably not going to make it. Now, for me, I had no sense of dying. I'm like, okay, here we go. And they gave me some pain meds, but I was getting Dilaudid, fentanyl, morphine through an IV push, one of those every 90 minutes, and the highest dose of oxygen you could take, and I was still in pain, way past the 10 level pain. There's a whole level of pain that's way past 10. That it's another place. But for me, it was a really profound spiritual journey, because it took me out. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I didn't die. They finally did the surgery to kind of try to clean things out. And then it was about 8 months of getting back on my feet. I lost my business, went through all my savings, my retirement, my investment, everything was gone. And I came through that, and I had this joy. You can either let these things that come into your life cause you to go, why God, which reveals your true place, what you really believe, or you can just press in and just trust. And I just pressed in and trusted, and I eventually got better, but it was a profound journey. And it's taken me a long time to get back on my feet. I always tell people I could have had $10 million in the bank and would have gotten no better medical care, but I'd invested a lifetime into my health and wellness. And I believe that saved me. I have pictures from about 2 weeks before I went in the hospital, what I looked like, and about 4 months after I came out, and you could just see how it just depleted my body. But I was alive.
Yeah. And
so, those kind of journeys really wake you up. And like I said earlier, the malevolence of life, it's going to visit everybody. Nobody gets out of here alive. From my perspective, what I try to teach my clients is longevity is the goal, period. The byproduct that is you look better. And the way I try to frame that for them is all the self-help gurus will tell you that time is your most valuable resource. I disagree with that. I think your health is your most valuable resource because it's the only thing that can limit your time. Look at somebody who's diabetic, type 2 diabetic, 100 pounds overweight. They're miserable. They're shortening their life. They're literally losing years. And why? Because it's too hard to go to the gym, or they can't get their eating in control, or it's way more nuanced than that anymore. It's not simply, hey, let's go to the gym and eat right and lose weight. It just isn't. We've created this, TV culture where there's 1,000 channels on TV. You can't find anything to watch. It's like people just sit. They just sit all the time, and they're in their car sitting. They're here sitting, and then to get them to go out or something is like pulling teeth. And what do? Every 2 weeks, every year, they go to the beach and they don't want to take their shirt off. Guys don't want to take their shirt off because they don't look good. Women want to wear the cover up because they don't feel like they look good. I mean, is that really living? And I've always been a guy who's chased meaning over, finances. I chase interactions. I chase relationships over, just what can the next person be, my next client, whatever. And so, you get this perspective of life, this view of life where, okay, well, I'm hard to kill, but I know I'm going to die someday. So I've got this borrowed time. Because I had 7 doctors say this would have killed anybody else. And 2 of them said that the fact I'm not paralyzed from the waist down is a miracle. So I'm kind of going, It's just strange when you've come up to that edge and you've looked over and you've stepped back. Suddenly things become very much in perspective. You don't stress about things so much anymore. You don't worry about things so much anymore. You don't get upset when things aren't going your way so much. The things that would cause stress in my life no longer cause stress because, what can you do to me? I bring that to both how I interact with people from a Christian leadership position and perspective, and from a coach to client perspective, from a friendship perspective. I'm not in it to get necessarily anything out of it. I'm in it for other people, because when you go through that, you become for me, I became even more other-centered. I became even more focused on wanting to help other people. Because if I barely made it, most of the people that I know, had they had the same situation, would not make it. And so I am on a mission to just help people to stop squandering this gift we have, because it's a gift and you only get one. Whether I win, lose, or draw in the context of business and finances and all those kind of things, what I do know is I keep swinging the bat. And I see you guys doing the same thing with the company. You guys are swinging the bat. You're saying, okay, we had a good life, but we're going to change something. We want to make a difference. We want to do something different. We want, and I love the vision, right? And so, but if you're not chasing after something that is meaningful to you, if you're just going through the motions for a paycheck, what a sad life.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I get it. I've done jobs I didn't want to do. We all have. You got to feed kids. You got to take care of family. But at the end of the day, you have to be doing something in your life that brings meaning.
Even if it's painting in your side in your extra hours, or playing
whatever
the
it is,
piano, or
work on your car.
I'm wondering if you have any situations where you've come across clients that have gotten some crazy stuff online that they've tried or asked about trying, or is that your face explains it all?
Well, the way I kind of frame that is, if the fitness and nutrition business is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry, it's huge. If all of those things work, then nobody would need my services.
Good point.
If you can download a workout off the internet, then why isn't everybody doing it? If you
What is the difference with working with someone like you and getting expertise specifically from someone like you or another great trainer, and following a plan online that they found?
Accountability. So there's three reasons why somebody hires a coach. Okay. I have a business coach. When I compete, I have a coach, because you can't see what you're enveloped in. Okay. I had no idea how to do social media marketing. I'm learning that. That's why I hired a business coach. When I'm training for a competition, I know all the workouts. I know all the nutrition protocols. I know all the supplements I'm supposed to take, but you can't see yourself clearly because you get in this space. So I hire a coach to see me. When somebody hires a coach, fitness coach, nutrition coach, they're hiring them for three reasons. They're hiring them for accountability. They're hiring them for strategy. So that's the protocols. What are you going to do to work out? Meeting them where they're at, putting the right protocols together for them to get where maybe they're starting from zero and we got to get them to hero. I always call my process zero to hero. They're sort of a hero at the end of 1 year. If they stay with me 2 years, they're going to be a hero. And the third thing is mindset. And so if all those programs you could download for $197 or $97, whatever, worked, then everybody would be in shape. But I can go in any gym that I train at a gym right around the corner. If those programs worked, then everybody in the gym would be working harder than they are. And whenever anybody comes up to me in the gym and says, dude, look at you, what do you do? And blah, blah, blah. And then they find how old I am, and then they're really freaked out. My first thing is this: look around. Who's working hard? Nobody. Going through the motions.
Yeah.
But it takes more than that. You've got to really look at the proper strategy for each individual person. Everything I do is customized to that person. If they've never been in a gym in 25 years, I got to start them different than a guy who's coming to me and saying, hey man, I can't break under 15% body fat. I want to get to 10. That's a different, but he's in the gym all the time. That's a different client. Or the woman who comes to me and says, listen, I've been raising kids. I haven't done anything in forever. I'm 70 pounds overweight. I can't hardly do anything. Well, I have to start her different than the woman who comes to me and says, I've been in the gym for 3 years, but I'm stuck at 20% body fat, or I'm stuck at this one place. I can't seem to break free. That's a different strategy. So you're coming to a coach for strategy. You're coming to a coach for accountability. Listen, we all know we have to answer to somebody. We tend to perform better. You have to be effective and efficient in the gym. Now, how do you become effective and efficient? Well, you have to look at more than just a set. So the first thing is that you need to understand the science behind a 10-rep set. It's 40 seconds of time under tension. Time under tension builds muscle for both men and women. So when people are going through a motion really fast, like most people do, they're diminishing their time under tension. The 10 rep set was predicated on 40 seconds of time under tension. So every rep should be 4 seconds. So I say to people when they ask me, well, what do you do? Tell me what your workout is? I go, my workout is 4-second reps. They're like, what do you mean? Contraction, 2 to 3 second eccentric. Look around. Is anybody doing that? Nope. Do that and you'll pass up all your friends. Do you think they do?
Probably
Nope.
not. Yeah.
Because it's ego lifting. And so, the other part that I being effective and efficient is, supersets, giant sets, drop sets, higher reps, volume of work as opposed to heavy load. When you start doing these things, you start looking at that. That's part of the strategy side is how do you take a person and basically you're a sculptor and you're sculpting them, but they've got to do the work. And the only way they're going to do the work is through the accountability and through the mindset. And that's really where the battle is. The battle is right here. Because let's be honest, building muscle hurts. And nobody wants to talk about that. So people don't know how to work hard. We've been taught to be lazy in our culture because we don't have to do anything physical anymore. Well, no, that's not, there's construction workers and guys like that. And oftentimes the guys that are construction workers or doing a physical labor job, they work harder in the gym than anybody else because they already know how to work. And so when you're in the gym, you have to be in there. You have to have the proper strategy. You have to have the proper mindset, and you've got to answer to somebody for what you're doing or not doing. And I think that's the big difference between just getting something offline. And here's the other thing. Just because some 28-year-old guy or girl looks great and has learned how to film really cool videos for social media doesn't mean they know what the heck they're talking about. Half the time I see these people, these fitness influencers, they're not even doing a repetition correctly, let alone the proper, like the cadence, the form, the load, the extension, the contraction. And there's a nuance to every movement that most people don't get. It's not just about going through the motions. And unfortunately, they still get a good physique because maybe they got some genetics or something.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Or whatever they're doing. Maybe they're doing some things to enhance what they're doing. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's not transferable to somebody on an individual basis.
Right.
I mean, think about it this way. Most people learn, before the advent of social media, most people learned how to work out by watching other people in the gym work out. Well, it gets diluted, every person that does it, because every person's doing it a little bit less effectively and efficiently than the person before. And by the time it gets down so many people, now you're just watching people not know what they're doing, but they're in the gym.
Yeah.
It's just shocking to me the amount of people that I see in gyms now that they're lost, but they won't invest in finding some help. So they watch social media.
Even if it's briefly, just to get a foundation started.
That's right.
Just to get the basics. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And so at the end of the day, if you really listen, if everybody knew how to do this, there wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar industry.
It's very true.
Right? And not everybody, people say to me all the time, so what's your meal plan? Well, that depends on the person.
Yep.
For me, I ascribe more to a carnivore diet. But I'm 63. I don't need, 500 grams of carbohydrates a day to build muscle. Maybe at 30, I sure did. Different metabolism, different time in life, different loads, different strength levels, different stressors in the gym. So, but for somebody else, some, 30-year-old guy comes to me and he's trying to go from, competing, let's say at 185 pounds to 205 pounds. I've got to increase his calories. The problem is I think that most people are eating way more processed stuff and way more carbohydrates than we need to be eating. And they're not good carbohydrates. They're not, my general rule of thumb, if it grew out of the ground or it had a face, eat it.
I actually find too that oftentimes I find with women, they eat too little.
Yes, all the time.
And they're scared to have wild rice. They're scared to have a sweet potato.
That's right.
And it kills me because I'm like, your muscle is your furnace.
That's right.
And it cannot be built on that. You're wondering why your skin is looking sullen, your hair
Right.
is falling out, your memory isn't as good, you're tired and lethargic. It's fuel for your body is food. And
Right.
the muscles take the leftover. They don't
That's
get the
right.
first dibs. So if you're not getting enough to even feel alert or have strong nails, your muscles aren't going to grow.
That's
And
right.
so, yeah, that's a big mistake women make. They just don't eat enough.
And it's shocking to me how many women come to me and they'll track their food for a few days and they're at like 1,100 calories, 1,200 calories. And I'm like, okay, we got to start giving you more food. They freak out. But the ones that actually trust me and increase their food and start increasing their exercise, they start losing weight. And then you get the guys who say, well, it's difficult because, my kids have got all this stuff in the pantry. Well, why are you feeding your kids poison? We've got them addicted to sugar. We've got them addicted to dyes. We've got them addicted to, we have a proliferation of type 2 diabetes. 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, type 2 diabetes already. That is unheard of. It's madness.
And that's just the
seed
physical
oils.
part.
Yes.
That's not even the mental health part of it.
No. And you've got seed oils in every processed food, and you've got high fructose corn syrup. We can't even digest that stuff. And yet people still want to eat it.
Yeah.
Just look at the ingredients: palm kernel oil, this vegetable oil, this high fructose corn syrup. It's just madness. But people see it packaged, they see it, it's easy, it's simple, and they give it, and they wonder why their kids are not performing well. They wonder why ADD is off the charts.
One question is going to be, and I'm going to tell you what they are ahead of time so you can prepare. One question is if you could recommend one thing for nutrition. It can be a food item, a supplement, something to remember, one thing to start with, not saying that's the only thing, but what's the most recommended thing you have that you recommend to people? Number two, not least recommended, but avoid at all costs, boom, this. And then I want you to follow up with what you can do for anybody watching and how they can reach you.
I recommend people eat more meat.
Okay.
I have never seen, and I understand some people want to be vegan for various reasons, but I just recommend more meat. When you look at a vegan diet, it's really survival food. It's if you look at all indigenous cultures, they prized meat, they prized animal proteins. So I would recommend eat more meat. Now, when you do that, of course, your fat levels are going to go up, though I don't believe that fat makes you fat. So you're going to have to moderate some of those carbohydrates.
Let's clarify. Fat content of the food levels, not fat content on your body levels.
That's right. Fat doesn't add to your fat levels.
Right. They're different things.
That's two different things. The thing I would tell people to get away from is anything packaged, processed that has, if it's got a list of ingredients that long, why would you put it in your mouth? Seriously, why? There's plenty of supplements, but supplements aren't going to help you if you don't have a clean diet. And what was the third thing? Oh, how do they get a hold of me?
Yeah, I would love to. If anybody wants to work with you, because you're not just a trainer. You don't just work in nutrition.
No.
You work with the whole person.
That's right.
So there's a lot of people that they want that. They don't want to just go into the gym and being told how many reps and what to eat. They also want to get to the basics of, how can I get out of this place, even mentally, to completely change and transform. So
you can find me on Instagram at the Fit Rev. My business is called Fitness Revelation, and I'm a pastor, so I'm the Fit Rev. Kind of fun. On Facebook, it's just under my name, Jeffrey Saccone. I do have Fitness Revelation on Facebook as well. And then my website is fitrevelation.com.
And I will include all of this in the show notes as well.
That'd be great.
So they can link it to you as well. And you provide what kind of services then for them?
It's all online coaching. So what happens is I set up all their protocols. I have an app that I use. I put all their nutrition protocols. I put all their workout protocols in there. I do a once a week check-in with them. And usually my check-in is helping them untangle how they got to where they're at in the first place. And that takes several months. And then eventually we just get more into just the training and the nutrition, and they start liking it. I found it takes anywhere from, the science shows that it takes on a median 66 days of discipline to create a habit. So what I have found is that it really takes people about 3 months before they kind of start liking it, and about 6 months before they fall in love with it. I call it being bit by the bug. So I really have to walk with them through that process so that it becomes a lifestyle. And what I'm really going to help them with is to define their why. And I really need a why for life, but you need a why. Why are you going to undertake this? Because it's adding to your schedule. It's going to be hard. You're going to disrupt a lot of things in your home. So you better know why you're doing it or you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
Seriously. And
Not one person's going to regret those things. If
no,
they stick with it, they're going to be
No.
like, why didn't I do this sooner?
that's right. And everybody I talk to, everybody I've helped, all the people that I've walked with for years and years, I've been doing this for 30 something years. They're always so happy that they did it because they feel better. What's shocking is the body is an incredible, incredible organism in that it will heal itself if you give it the right fuel, nutrition to do it, and you begin to move. It will heal itself. Everything is reversed. Literally, you can reverse diabetes, you can reverse hypertension, you can reverse it all through exercise and diet. Any good doctor will tell you the number one thing that you can do in your life is resistance exercise. And as a person who's getting older, and I plan on living to 100, I'm doing everything I can, and apparently I'm hard to kill. You look at a couple of the indicators, like grip strength is a huge indicator of longevity, and quadricep strength is a huge indicator of longevity. And you look at people, I mean, people my age don't do what I do. They just don't. And it's not because they couldn't. I had a client a couple of years ago. He came to me. He'd been in his job with a tech company for 30 something years. They blew him out pretty early before he was really ready to retire. Hadn't done anything in the gym in 30 something years. Came to me in 1 year. We took him and he dropped from like 20 something 7% body fat down to like 15%, put on 15 pounds of muscle at 61 years old. It just takes focus.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, here's one of the big misnomers. People think I'm in the gym for hours a day. I'm literally in the gym for an hour and 15 minutes max. And that includes a warm up and a cool down. And I will outwork everybody in the gym. And I teach all my clients the same thing. You get in, you get out. You don't have time to be lollygagging here.
Right.
And so if people would just get the ideas of what's in the way out of their head and just say, listen, I got kids. I want to see my grandkids. I want to be functional. I'm going to work my whole life. I want to be able to do things with my wife when I'm 55, 60. Then just get your reason why and get moving. So
Very good.
that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. Thank you so much. I
It was my
appreciate
pleasure,
it.
Heather.